I'd like to reconvene the meeting with all present. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. Okay, tonight you'll notice a little change. Some council members are absent, and you got the other Bob. The big Bob is away, so you got little Bob filling in. Okay, start off with the minutes for approval. The executive minutes of the September 26th meeting. Any comments?
Move to approve the minutes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Regular minutes of the September 26th meeting.
Move the minutes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Aye.
Okay. By greeting for the public, Bob didn't send me anything, but I will read the employee of the month for October. Firefighters Tom Boylan and Troy Pahowick have been selected as employees of the month for October. While performing a routine smoke and carbon monoxide detector check for a senior citizen in Madison, the fireman noticed natural gas odor. He located the leak, called Public Service Electric and Gas, and explained the situation to the service person, who found other issues that needed to be addressed in the home. Because of Tom and Troy's vigilance, a possible catastrophic outcome was avoided. So many thanks to them. Okay, we're going to do the minutes for the reports from committee a little out of sequence, because I have a number of them to read. So we're going to start with Community Affairs and John Hoover.
Oh, okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. First of all, from the Madison Arts and Cultural Alliance, they are having a fundraiser on Sunday afternoon, November 13th at 4 o'clock. Concert will feature Jerry Vezza, Bryn Stanley, and Grover Kimball. Tickets and details will be available shortly on the website, madisonartsnj.org. Hold on just a second, please. For the Downtown Development Commission and the Director of Business Development, next meeting of the DDC will be held on Thursday, October 20th at 7:15 in the committee room, second floor. Everybody is invited to attend. It's an open public meeting. Farmers Market continues through Thursday, November 17th. It has a large selection of vendors and weekly music. The Madison Annual Fall Festival, Bottle Hill Day, will be held as rescheduled on October 15th from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Marks the 47th anniversary of the signature Madison event. Details can be found on rosenet.org. The annual Trunk and Treat pumpkin illumination will be held on Friday, October 28th, beginning at 5 p.m. Prize will be given to the top 3 decorated cars or trucks. Proceeds will benefit the Madison Volunteer Ambulance Corps. Look for registration information on the I Love Madison NJ Facebook page. I must apologize. I have COVID and I'm working from home, so I'm a little bit lost in some cases here. From the Chamber of Commerce, the Madison Car Show was canceled and will not be rescheduled for this year. We will see you back on October 7th, 2023. Cornstalks and scarecrows decorated by chamber businesses will be up on the Waverly Place from October 18th to November 1st for all to enjoy. The Halloween Parade and Magic Show is scheduled for Saturday, October 29th from 12:30 to 3. Visit the Chamber's website at madisonnj.org for more information. For the Madison Community Arts Center, on October 18th, they'll be hanging the first gallery show with the new gallery systems hardware. Madison affiliated artist Maria Lupo. The show will be on the walls until December 4th. Gallery hours will be posted on the website. The center will host TEDx Talks on October 25th, including Madison resident Andy Peckman. It is open to the public and the information will be on the website. From November 28th through December 3rd, the center will host a week-long festival of dance featuring a number of dance forms, including Carol and Dorfman. The festival's final day will be a benefit for the people of Ukraine, featuring Ukrainian folk dancers and the Ukrainian modern dance Oksana Horban. A small exhibit of the art form from students in Ukraine will be on the walls. On February 21st, they will be hosting a complete show of the Ukrainian student art until April 4th, in partnership with the Center for Holocaust and Genocide Education at St. Elizabeth University. We will be hosting several events in concert with this program and are speaking to several partners right now. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, John, and please take care of yourself and feel better.
You bet.
Okay, Finance and Borough Clerk.
Thank you, Bob. From administration, the Borough currently offers health insurance for our employees through the State Health Benefits Plan. The plan recently announced a nearly 23% increase in costs for 2023. Employees pay a portion of their premium as well as the Borough, so both groups would be subject to the significant increase. Administration, personnel, and finance are working with various insurance providers to quickly identify a plan that offers identical coverage at a lower cost. Whether we stay with the state plan or move to another, health insurance costs are no doubt going up significantly in 2023. From the Finance Department, other insurance costs are going up as well. The Borough is a member of the Municipal Excess Liability Morris County Joint Insurance Fund, also known as the JIF. Our policy with the JIF covers workers' comp, general liability, environmental liability, property, equipment vehicles, employment practices, cyber insurance, as well as coverage for volunteers and the governing body. Our bill for 2022 was slightly over $1 million, and we expect that cost to go up again and at approximately 10% this year. Given insurance costs, fuel costs, and other materials, we are expecting 2023 to continue to be a challenging year budgetarily. Fortunately, the Borough is on firm financial footing, so we will be able to handle these increasing costs. Tonight, there is a hearing on Ordinance 45-2022, which will fund $300,000 of substation repairs from the substation reserve. This reserve has $1.4 million in it, and the council has been funding this knowing that these funds will be needed for certain expensive capital projects. The $300,000 will be used on transformer repairs, replacing transformer relays, wiring upgrades and repairs, schematics, engineering costs, and climate control. We need to install climate control in the substations because the heat in the buildings is impacting the equipment. Finally, from the tax collector held the annual tax sale this past Thursday. Only one parcel remained from the initial tax sale list, but was paid off immediately after the sale, so no lien needed to be placed on the parcel. Tax sale process is a way for municipalities in New Jersey to obtain the full amount of property taxes and other charges needed to support the annual budget, while providing the property owner with additional time to pay off what they owe. The Borough of Madison currently has no tax liens held by outside investors, which is a rarity among New Jersey municipalities and a credit to the work of our tax collector's office. That's all, Bob.
Thank you, Deb. Okay, Public Works and Engineering, Rachel?
Good evening. From the Engineering Department, Cook parking lot reconstruction is progressing with the purchase of lighting and electrical equipment that's expected for delivery this year. The Engineering Department is working with our electrical engineering consultant to relocate third-party telecom equipment in the Cook parking lot ahead of the demolition and reconstruction project. For the new basketball/pickleball court at the MRC, as discussed at the last council meeting, field surveys have been requested for the area north of the high school tennis courts to prepare detailed site plans for the project, and the surveys are expected to be completed this month. Also at the MRC, significant progress has been made on site work to prepare for the installation of the new accessible trail paving. Regarding the water main breaks this summer, new water pressure monitoring sensors have been received for installation, and our paving contractor will return to Madison to repave the disturbed water main break locations in our roadways. For Dodge Playground, several alternative layouts improving playground accessibility are being considered prior to bidding this project, which will be funded in part by a community development block grant, and we have that as an agenda item tonight to see progress on the Dodge Playground design options, which was approved to go forward by resolution earlier this year. The Memorial Park Trail Bridge is in need of repair. This is the bridge that's near the Sunny Vitale ball fields. Several quotes have been requested to repair that bridge and bring it to a state of good repair to connect those trails in Memorial Park. And for the 2023 road improvement program, all local road pavement surfaces have been scanned for an upcoming report on local road conditions, and a draft of the 5-year capital improvement plan for 2023 through 2027 has been prepared as part of our annual budget process. Public Works reports that their crew helped to move the health department to Hartley Dodge Memorial. Downtown Public Works made minor sidewalk repairs to reduce trip hazards, working together with our Director of Downtown Business Development, Lisa Ellis. And Public Works also weeded and mulched tree wells to beautify our downtown ahead of Bottle Hill Day. Around town, DPW is replacing damaged and faded street name signs. They've repainted all the soccer fields, including Bailey Ellard Field, which has 8 leagues that play on it. And they prepped planting beds at the train station to receive plants that will be transplanted from the Civic Center garden beds, thanks to the volunteers who have cared for those flowers over the years. At the DPW garage, they're preparing all leaf equipment for upcoming leaf removal, and they made a large delivery to the styrofoam recycling plant in Springfield. Ken O'Brien reports that that program is gaining popularity, and the amount of styrofoam that we're recycling is increasing monthly. MEC announces that the Madison Chatham townwide yard sale has been moved to Sunday, this Sunday, October 16th, from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. The last day to register your yard sale is tomorrow, October 13th, with a $10 tax-deductible donation to the Great Swamp Watershed Association. Go to greatswamp.org/events to register your address and list your sale items, which will appear on a digital printable map. And finally, the North Jersey Sustainable Municipal Alliance, a regional working group of 12 area towns, including Madison, hosted a program at the Madison Community Arts Center last week with expert guest speakers who discussed the feasibility of microgrids to provide resiliency and backup power to emergency and mission-critical services, as well as the upcoming incentives available through the Inflation Reduction Act and how they can be applied to heat pumps. It was a really interesting discussion and presentation by Scott Fisher of Seal Power, and there were a lot of questions, and I think probably the Alliance will host a follow-up meeting to address more technical questions about heat pumps and how they can be used in commercial and residential buildings. That's all for engineering and public works.
Thank you, Rachel. Eric, Health?
Thanks, Bob. Morris County's COVID-19 community level is medium. We are back up to medium after a slight increase in hospitalizations. For those of you keeping score at home, the hospitalization rate when it exceeds 10 per 100,000 is when we go to medium, sort of, no matter what your case levels are. So cases haven't necessarily increased that much, but we've gone over that hospitalization threshold. A reminder that the new bivalent vaccine formulations for the boosters are available from both Pfizer and Moderna. And these new bivalent boosters not only provide improved protection for the earlier variants of COVID-19, but also the more recent Omicron lineages of BA4 and BA5. Flu season is also upon us now, and the health department will be holding flu clinics. They'll be holding one for the seniors at Rexford Tucker Senior Housing on October 25th, and a clinic for the general public noon to 5:30 p.m. On the 27th here in Hartley Dodge, and that will be in the courtroom. More details on how to register for the flu clinic will be forthcoming in the next couple of days. Whether or not you get your flu or COVID vaccines from the health department or a private provider, now is the time to get your flu shot and to get up to date on your COVID vaccine and boosters before the fall and winter season arrives. Lastly, tonight, a save the date reminder, more vaccines, but this time for our animal friends. Our annual vaccine clinic for rabies will be held on Saturday, December 3rd, 10 a.m. to noon at the DPW garage on John Street. More details and registration options will be forthcoming. That's all tonight, Bob. Thanks.
Thank you, Eric. Okay, now I have 4 reports: police, fire, water, and electric. Okay, from the police department. On October 9th of this year, Chief Mitchell was invited to attend the Mass of Thanksgiving at St. Vincent Martyrs Church. The Mass was also a celebration of Father George Hunt's 40th anniversary of his priesthood. This Mass was well attended and there was not an empty seat in the church. Father George was also a valued member of our police chaplain unit. Congratulations to Father George on a well-deserved night. Newly appointed school resource officer Pete Frank started his new assignment this week with the Madison Police Department. SRO Frank was assigned to the Madison Junior School and cannot wait until our Madison Junior School families get to meet him. Welcome aboard. On October 8th, 2022, Sergeant Julian Morales and Patrolman Alec Cardenas spoke at the attendees at Hispanic Mass at St. Vincent's Church. Both officers introduced themselves and answered questions and concerns from the parishioners, who are mostly Madison residents. They provided resources to all in attendance and stressed the department's goal on continuing to strengthen our relationship with the Hispanic and Latino communities in town. There was also a follow-up meeting with Chief Misha and with Father Garcia of St. Vincent's. Okay, Madison Fire Department. The fire hydrant flushing program is ongoing. While hydrant flushing typically will not interrupt water service, residents may notice a temporary drop in water pressure while crews are working in the area. There's also the possibility that water may become temporarily discolored. This is normal. The discolored water does not pose a health hazard. If discolored water occurs, simply run the cold water for a few minutes until it clears. And finally, if you have any questions regarding hydrant flushing, please call the Madison Water Department at 973-966-7330. From the Electric Department, the department has been working on our inventory in anticipation of placing a Materials Boulevard. Okay, the department also has been working diligently cleaning and maintaining their equipment. On Wednesday, September 28th, Niles Avenue experienced a power outage due to a squirrel. Full power was restored within an hour. On Wednesday, October 5th, the standby crew was called out for no power on Park Avenue due to a circuit breakdown and cutout. The crew had to shut down the electric circuit to replace 2 boxes. Full power was restored within a half hour. The electric department discontinued the service at 38 Walnut Street, removed the meters, and removed the transformers from the poles in anticipation of demolition. And finally, the department continues to complete solar tie-ins, house services, markouts, and trouble calls. We also continue to meet with contractors on site to discuss the ongoing projects throughout the town. Okay, and from the fire department. The month of September, the fire department responded to 55 related calls and 41 EMS calls for a total of 96 incidents for the month. 51 fire prevention inspections and 13 smoke/carbon monoxide resale inspections were performed. The week of October is Fire Prevention Week. Madison firefighters will be visiting our schools during the month of October and presenting our pre-K through 8th graders with the fire prevention program. And finally, progress continues on getting our new fire rescue pumper outfitted with equipment with an in-service target date of November 1st. Okay. Any communications and petitions?
Yes, Mayor and Council received an email dated October the 12th, 2022 from Thomas Salaki of Fairwood Road regarding the location of the proposed pickleball courts.
Okay.
That's it.
All righty. This will be our first invitation for public comment. During this period, individuals may comment on the agenda discussions, which include Dodge Field Playground update, the Wellness Walk on October 23rd, as well as the consent agenda resolutions, which include a resolution of the Borough of Madison authorizing the termination of the joint pole use agreement between Verizon and the Borough of Madison, resolution of the Borough of Madison rejecting all bids for the Memorial Park Trail construction, resolution of the Borough of Madison requesting the Director of Local Government Services to approve the insertion of an item of revenue in the budget for the year 2022, resolution of the Borough of Madison proclaiming Saturday, October 15th as Bottle Hill Day and authorizing the beer garden, resolution of the Borough of Madison authorizing renewal of a rental agreement for the use of a portion of the public safety complex by the American Automobile Association for defensive driving instruction, resolution of the Borough of Madison approving raffles license applications submitted by the Grace Episcopal Church, resolution of the Borough of Madison authorizing submission of a grant application to New Jersey Office of Attorney General for the Automated License Plate Reader Initiative, resolution of the Borough of Madison approving a playground trust fund disbursement, and finally, a resolution of the Borough of Madison authorizing the negotiating of a contract for the purchase of new unused water utility electric AMR system water meter communication modules, and there is one more. The Borough of Madison is publicly advertised for bids for the purchase of new used water utility electronic system water meter communication modules on 2 occasions. Okay, anybody wishing to comment on any of those, please come up. As the mayor would say, you have 3 minutes. I'll let you know when that's over, and we'll kind of give you a minute's grace period. Tom?
What's up, Councilman Landry? You look good up there.
This is just temporary, trust me.
A lot of reading. A lot of reading to do. I think Bob said when he's not here, the public could speak more. Is he able to be reaching out? If he's not, then we have to defer to that.
Who's speaking, please?
Tom Harlan Putis, 27 Pomeroy Road. Hi, John.
Hi, thank you.
All right. I have a question for Councilwoman Cohen from her presentation about the borough employees and the increases that we're going to be facing on our healthcare costs. One question I have, and I don't know if you can answer this, or Mr. Burnett can answer, or Mr. Landrigan, are we able to actually move our healthcare coverage to another provider? I'm sure you have to show an audit on how much healthcare the borough employees actually use. Is that right, Jim?
I can answer that when you're done. You have other
All right, Matt, good. Hold on a second. So, can we move, or do we have to contract for a year, and are we not allowed to move? Because it's such a big, obviously a big impact on the cost of our labor. So what's the story? When is the contract up? Wait till I'm done so I get my minutes in. Sorry,
So
sir.
trying to cut in your 3 minutes, Bob.
Yeah.
Mayor Connolly called me to say that, sorry.
He just texted me too. He said I could have more. So look, so then the other question is what is the actual cost to the borough of health care? Is it $1 million, or 22% of $1 million? Is it $5 million? I know for the Board of Education, it's up in the $6 or $7 million. I don't know what the cost is, just so we could put it in perspective. What's the actual impact to the cost of running the borough? And then I had some questions about some of the items on ordinances. What is Ordinance 46/2022, where the borough is going to have an annual alcohol beverage license fee for a theater exception license? So that's a question. Okay, just a quick explanation. I don't know what that is. I don't know what 261/2022 is. Maybe you're going to tell us when you guys discuss it for vote. That is requesting the Director of Local Government Services to approve the insertion of an item of revenue in the budget. Hopefully it's some good revenue. And then the last thing is, I didn't know that we had a playground trust fund. I thought we were taking the money out of the Open Space and Historic Preservation Trust, but maybe there's something else that I'm not familiar with, which is great. I'm glad that we're finding the money for it.
Tom, those are all good questions. Normally, during this period,
Yes, sir.
we just hear comments. We don't normally answer the questions. So what we'll do is
Ah.
we'll get back to you after the meeting and go through the answers with you. Some may be answered during the actual meeting itself.
Oh, but you got to answer some of these things in public. You don't know what the cost of the health care is to the borough?
That's something that we're going through right now.
Okay.
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 I can answer the one question.
Yeah, can we move?
The law that the borough has to comply with, it deals with the Public Employment Relations Commission. Many of your employees are unionized in the borough, as in most municipalities, and what the law is that you have a managerial prerogative to move to other coverage, out of the state coverage, so long as the plan is equal to or better than. It doesn't have to be identical, but you can move. So there's a level of coverage that's provided through the state plan. You can go out to other providers and say, what's your price for this? And that's happening across the state, because I can tell you, a 24% increase. Right now, just to give you an idea, family coverage under Direct 15 is about $33,000 all in. The employees pay a portion of that, up to roughly a third of it, depending on their income level. So 24% increase on $33,000, you can figure out that's a gigantic, you're now pushing $40,000 for a family plan.
Wow.
Real quick, Thomas, 1.6 million is what we pay in health insurance. Employees pay a portion as well. We are currently actively looking. New to the microphones here. 1.6 million is what we pay in health insurance. Employees pay an additional portion. That's across all our entities: water utility, electric utility, library, and municipal. So the increase is significant. We're thinking it's actually going to come in late breaker closer to 20%. However, we're talking to other providers to see if we can get that cost down. If the cost has to come down enough to make it worthwhile switching provider networks. So that's something we're looking at. You have to give the state health benefits plan 60 days notice. So we could do it in January or February and then have new health insurance in March or April, not optimal. So we're looking to potentially try to accelerate this process or this decision, at least for this year, and have it where we would have open enrollment in November, December, and start off with a new plan in January. The item that you talked about, the insertion, is just a grant, and the other stuff, I forget it, we'll talk about it afterwards.
Okay.
Hey, Tom,
That's great, Jim. It puts a lot in perspective. Thanks, everybody.
anybody else? Okay. Seeing none, I'll close this portion of the meeting and now move on to agenda discussions. Okay, the first is the Dodge Field Playground update. Deb?
Thanks, Bob. While Michael's getting the presentation up, like I posted to Facebook just to make people aware last night, we are redoing, looking to redo the Dodge Field Playground to make it an all-inclusive playground. So that's not just a handicapped accessible playground, but that's all-inclusive for everybody, so that all children of all abilities and differently able children can participate. So I'm going to kind of go through the process we've been through, with the process that's left, and an overall timeline. I'm clicking on my screen like I'm going to change the change the thing. Thanks, Michael. So Dodge Field was created over 70 years ago through the generosity of the Geraldine Rockefeller Dodge Fund. And the purpose is to research, propose, and construct a fully compliant ADA playground, the first of its kind in this area. There's lots of them in New Jersey, but in this immediate area, and lots of them in the nation, as part of our commitment to diversifying our recreational programs and increasing accessibility. And because it came up again last night on Facebook, it was last renovated in 2006. With the first response, that was the first response to ADA requirements, and we're upping the dream, as you'll see here. Go ahead, Michael. So the process, we had a group of key stakeholders that have been meeting to discuss some goals as well as our environmental concerns. We've spoken a little bit with Shade Tree, a little bit with MEC. We did have them as part of the discussion when it came to especially the surface material for the playground. We also did have Susie Whitehorn, who's a member of the DDC's daughter, was able to join us and be our playground experimenter, and she had a field day going to all the different playgrounds with us, which was great. Some of the playgrounds we visited was Tom's River, which is a members-only, special needs-only playground, so we wanted to see what that was. That is not what we are doing. This will be all accessible for everybody, but it gave us some ideas. Degnan Field in West Orange. It's called Pirate Park in West Orange. It's where the Swan boats are. It's in West Orange. Waddesing Park in Bloomfield, and then the Michelle Obama School in Newark. And then my personal favorite, my little bias, was one that we visited in Wayne, that just to me kind of had all of what we're looking for. Next slide, please. So what are we looking to do? It has to be accessible. That's obviously not an option. And again, we're talking accessible in various ways. We want to see some interactive equipment. There are some giant xylophone sort of things, big musical instruments that just kind of give something kids different, that maybe they're done running, but they're not ready to go, home or whatever. Swings of all kinds, slides of various kinds. If you've been, and I'm sure anybody with children has, to what is still Castle Park, even though it doesn't look like Castle Park anymore, the rolly slide that looks like kind of the washboard, as well as more typical slides. We saw a lot, and we will be doing some sort of accessible merry-go-round, which allows the wheelchair to go on the merry-go-round, so that they can be on there with their friends. Seesaw, not a seesaw like we typically think of a seesaw. They now have many more that allow for more control, more safety, and not in the sense that you want to fling your friends off, but in the sense of if somebody is differently abled, that they are able to still participate with their friends. Shade structures, we've got lots of shade trees, and we are keeping, and I'll get to that in just a minute, but we're also, the gazebo is 90% going away. I'm not going to give it 100%. We're still in discussion. And we're going to have kind of more over the head shade, lots of benches around rather than mostly in the center, and that sort of thing. On the wants front, monkey bars, which really could go over into the needs, because I think most kids would be devastated if we didn't have monkey bars on there. And track ride, zip venture, evidently we're not allowed to call them zip lines anymore, which is because safety-wise, now everybody's gone to this track ride. But the one that we're looking at and we're hoping to get is actually a side-by-side. One side has a seat similar to the green seats people are familiar with that are swings. The other one has a circular round seat that can either be stood on or sat on. So again, people can be using them in different ways. And then, of course, we will definitely be having benches. We are going to add bike racks and picnic tables. So if you'll go ahead, yep. And so this is a sample design from one of the companies that we've been talking to. This by no means is anywhere near finalized, and in many cases we've already talked about some changes that we are planning to make. But we wanted everybody to kind of see that center structure that says 5 to 12, the big red circle in the middle. That is not the gazebo. That would be a climbing structure. Or the merry-go-round or something along those lines. So that's kind of where we are with that. Nothing here, like I said, is set in stone. You will notice the perimeter trees. Those are the trees that are already there. No intention to be touching those. There are 3 trees that are currently in. I don't know if they're in this diagram or not. It looks like we will definitely be able, 2 of them that we thought we might have to get rid of, we are not going to have to get rid of. And then 1, we're trying to tweak things over a little bit so that we're not cutting down any trees. But if we do need to cut down, they will be replaced based on the ordinance and anything else more that we can do. And then so we'll be adding some shade structures to this. All right, if we'll go to the next slide, which has some sample designs. To be quite honest, these come from the catalog. These are not these are not designs that we looked at. The one concept design that we have gotten similar to this, we actually kind of crossed out quite a bit on it and said that's not what we meant by all accessible. But you'll notice they've got ramps, they're still climbing stuff. One of the things, and we don't have a real example of it here, the thing that we liked most about Wayne was you could go end to end in a wheelchair with things along the side. So a lot of the opening that you're seeing, they had like sensory things along the side that kids could touch and turn and do various things. It was safe for any age to get from one end to the other. Yes, there are things that will not be accessible for 4-year-olds that are accessible for 10-year-olds, but they could safely get all the way to the end if they went chasing after an older sibling. But it was also handy, it was the best way we saw to make it handicapped accessible and differently abled accessible for as many people as possible. So again, just some ideas, but you can see in the bottom right, that white and purple structure is, there's one by the high school where I work at. I can tell you my high schoolers love it just as much as the kids when we're on the playground taking photos. The kids that we see on the playground, it rocks. So you can, there's seats inside, and there's things that you can either rock it from the inside, or you can have somebody standing and kind of rocking it. So, that's something we're looking at, climbing things that are both what you think of as typical climbing things at a playground, as well as climbing things that are more accessible to people that might have some slight differences. One of the cool things we saw, and we're just looking into pricing because it seems to be costly, I believe it was at the Toms River Playground, Susie saw it, it was a two-person swing, so that you could have somebody that couldn't swing themselves and a parent on the other side. But we have to check out the cost on that and see if we can pull that off. So again, these are not pieces of equipment that we're necessarily going with, but it shows different types of shade structures that we may, that we'll be looking at. The whole point is, yes, it will be colorful, it will be kid-friendly, obviously. Next slide. Money, the favorite topic. Total cost estimated for this is somewhere between $550,000 and $650,000. We did pass an ordinance, I believe it was in June, 2022, for the $555,000, which includes the grant we've already received approval for, I believe. Jim, yes? Thank you. For the $125,000, which we'll lay out the money for, and then we basically turn in our receipts and get reimbursed. We're working on possible shared service agreement with Morris County Park Commission to get a 75% grant from the Jake's Law pilot agreement that was just announced. We have to do some tweaking and some looking and working with them, and Bob Vogel and Dennis Harrington are both working on that, and obviously we'll revise estimates on the money. But so we do have the money appropriated, we're getting grant money. We are aware that Dodge Field is not the only playground that exists in Madison. It is considered the main playground, but we do have Lucy D. and Del Barton. And the goal, and this has been a very brief 5-minute conversation, so more to come, is that once we get this done, is the following year to do the next one, and then the year after to do the next one. They will not necessarily, well, they won't be, they don't have the space to be, and they won't be this fully all-inclusive, but we're gonna make them more accessible and updated as well. Next steps, we are gonna continue revising the site plan for review and comment, including open space, recreation, historic preservation, parks advisory, recreation advisory, environmental commission, shade tree management, and then of course council. Zach Ellis is, sorry Zach, I don't remember your exact title, Director of Recreation, am I close? Has been involved in these discussions already. Lisa Ellis has been involved in these discussions. We've had, like I said, representatives from Shade Tree and Open Space just be part of these initial discussions to take everything into consideration. One of the things that we, in our looking at Dodge Field itself, there are some immediate tripping hazards that we're working on addressing so that it's safe until we do this demolition. So just be aware of that. We are aware that some of that is going on. As far as the surface of the playground, and that was one of the reasons we brought in, Michael, if you can go back, because I think I kind of glossed over it, the process slide, yeah. Design concepts, like I said, gazebo or no gazebo. I'm going to put it out there, I'm no gazebo. I think I like, but it's something we're talking about because there's some pros to the gazebo as well that we've heard. Tree impacts, we have gone through with the arborist who's done an assessment about what tree roots need to be pruned now that are tripping hazards, what we can do, and also advice about how far out our surface should go to not impact the roots of the trees. The surface material is the biggest environmental concern, so we have a lot of discussion on that. I'm going to actually start at the bottom and work up. Loose fill rubber, it requires significant maintenance. It's not typically used as much on playgrounds, but it was kind of the first initial, let's get rid of wood chips, what do we do sort of thing. If you are familiar with any turf field, basically it's all that little stuff that you come home with. That's what a loose fill, loose crumb rubber is. Wood fiber sounds great in theory. It's basically remanufactured wood chips into a more environmentally friendly material. I'm not sure of the process, because what we found is while it meets some of the ADA requirements, if you're in a wheelchair, if you're having to use a walking assistance device, it's no better than wood chips. You're not accomplishing saving anything there, which our whole purpose is to make this inclusive. I was amused, concrete and asphalt is still mentioned as a playground surface. No, not happening. I'm going to be honest, it just doesn't seem to make sense to any of us. Poured in place rubber is kind of where we landed. It is porous, so it does take into the consideration with the environment. We're talking about also adding potentially a little bit of drainage around the edges to make sure that it also goes where we want when it is a heavier storm. There's almost no maintenance to it. There's no crumb, there's no turf. It's just flat, and as long as it's monitored and watched, just in case a tree root does grow somewhere and it's caught, there's essentially no additional maintenance that our DPW folks will need to do. The same thing with those shade structures. Places have had them up for 10, 15 years. You don't even need to necessarily take them down. You can take them down if you know a huge snowstorm or something's coming, but you don't have to. So that's kind of where we're at. And then if I just go real quick to the last slide of the next steps, as far as a timeline, this isn't up there because it's not set in stone, but the goal is to keep the impact on parents as minimal as possible. So in the ideal world, if supply chain cooperates and weather cooperates and all of that good stuff, we hope to begin the excavation March-ish, or as early in March as the weather will allow us to do, with the goal to get that playground open mid to late May, early June, so that there's no way to not impact anybody who wants to use the playground. We can't do that because you can't do it in the winter, but to leave as much of the summer and hopefully even some of the spring. But it's really going to come down to the bidding process and all that, and that's kind of why we're just trying to plow through this and keep it going while getting people information. We did also reach out to a few families in town. I reached out to some, Susie Whitehorn reached out to some, and then just other conversations to make sure that parents of our differently abled children had says, or guardians, adults in the house, as I like to call them in my classroom, so that they had some input, and we will continue to gather that over the next couple of weeks, just kind of informally. There's not going to be a formal, hey, reach out to us. Here's your formal, hey, reach out to us. Spread the word to your friends, neighbors, family. They can reach me at CohenD@Rosenet. Please be aware there's no H in my last name because it won't go anywhere. So that's all I've got. I'm open to questions from council or comments. It's very weird to be kind of doing it in this way.
Any council discussion? Go ahead, Rachel.
Deb, thank you so much. That was a great presentation. I want to thank the Open Space, Recreation, and Historic Preservation Trust Fund for recommending this project for funding. I know it's been at the top of the list for a long time. It was great to take that vote this year and on their recommendation approve the appropriation for this really long-awaited reconstruction project. And I especially want to commend you, Councilwoman Cohen, for taking the lead on this project. You really made it an inclusive process, both for the stakeholder volunteer committees that you listed on one of the slides, and especially the residents and the children who will use and enjoy the playground. I really admire how you took great effort to include as many volunteers and future users of this in the process. And I want to just thank you for making this a better project through your leadership. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Go ahead, Eric.
All of the things that Rachel said, which I won't repeat, but I do think that when you see the numbers, you get a little bit of a sticker shock when you see over $500,000 in this. But I think one of the ways to put this into perspective, and of course this does not account for the grants we already have in hand and the further grant funding we may get, is the existing renovation, by the time this gets done, lasted us nearly 17 years. So that equates to about, if we get 17 years out of this project, that equates to about $3,000 a month, which, is a reasonable rent payment in Madison. So, I think, sometimes breaking it down and amortizing it over the 17 years, puts it in a little bit of perspective that maybe we didn't have. So that's just a quick back of the napkin calculation.
Appreciate that, because I had not done that math and had no idea. I will say, we were pleasantly surprised how much we're going to be able to get for that amount of money. About half of that will go for the excavation and surfacing, and about half of it then can go for equipment, and we were concerned. We're finding a lot of the equipment, even talking the accessible equipment and all stuff, is, I'm not gonna say it's cheap, but we were thinking certain pieces might be 40 or 50,000, which would limit us, but a lot of those pieces are coming in at 10 to 12,000. So still sticker shock, but not, oh crap, we can only have 4 things if we want to do this the right way. We should be able to have a nice, robust playground.
Okay, and last but not least me. I was very impressed with this presentation because it showed me a few things. One, that you have spent an enormous amount of time looking at this project. You have a good grasp of the costs, the design, the safety issues. It's in very good hands, and I'm not going to repeat what Eric and Rachel said because they beat me to the punch, but thank you, Deb. It's very well thought out. I appreciate it.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Okay, and don't go anywhere because you're next. Wellness walk.
I'm only kind of next. If Mayor Bob was here, he would actually be introducing this, but I win because Jen and I really got to meet each other at the diversity event we held in September, and she told me about this one, and I went, as I'm prone to do, unfortunately for my husband, went, sign me up. So there used to be an event, and I don't know if there still is, but my understanding is this is kind of replacing it, called the Mayor's Crawl, which always sounded kind of odd to me, but it was to promote wellness in town. And Jen, who is the president, head, what's your official title? Founder of
Volunteer founder
of the support network of Madison, which has already done so many great things, is taking the charge and the lead with this. There are a couple of these that you can take a look at, but it's basically October 23rd, starting at 11:30, and I'm going to let Jen do most of it. But the goal is to continue our awareness of mental health, that how it affects, and how are some ways that are not normally necessarily thought of. Yes, people go to therapy. Yes, people see psychiatrists. Yes, people are medicated. But how are other ways that we can do some of this stuff? And she's done a great job of getting businesses in town. I think Christine may be the only one here from the Pink Pear who was pulling double duty tonight, I think. I know she's one of the participating ones, but I'm going to really turn it over to Jen and thank her for organizing this and spearheading this along with our other sponsors.
Thank you. So you've heard a little bit. I would encourage you to take a look at the map because it's going to show you how many people have really come together to bring this event together. It's really a good representation of a lot of Madison, and I get a call or two every hour today of more people wanting to get involved. So that tells me we're on the right track. I want to invite my friend Doug here from the Rotary to also be recognized as someone who started this for us. So we can go to the next slide. So the Rotary conducted a needs assessment in November of last year, which told us there were 35 community leaders, clergy to town leadership, and nonprofit world, and what it told us is that mental health is the greatest need right now in town, right? I'm a mental health therapist. I founded the support network in May because I can't keep up with the phone calls I get for my therapy office, which is just a little tiny office. And there are people on the phone saying, I don't know how to find resources. Please don't place me on a wait list. 4 months, what do you mean 4 months? And my wait list is actually relatively short in comparison. So that's part of why we founded the support network, and we weren't surprised when Doug and I met each other in those early days of support network in May, and he said, we just did this needs assessment. The Grow Better initiative is trying to find a way to help. And so we put our brains together and we came up with what we thought would be another Mayor's Crawl, but we wrestled that name for quite some time because we couldn't figure out how to describe what we're trying to bring, which is that mental health is a common and accessible thing, not just in the therapy office. We don't want to replace the need for therapy, okay? Therapy, medication, psychiatry are very important pieces of mental health, but we want to bring it out of the shadows that there are other ways to supplement your mental health journey. So next slide will tell you that our sponsors are the Rotary, the Madison Area YMCA, the Support Network. We've had some other joining sponsors recently, Vasto Counseling and Madison Memorial Home. And we're very lucky that because of the generosity of all of these businesses stepping forward, our budget's very small. We were able to really see that every community person stepping up and every business stepping up offered to give. And so a lot of that money that we brought in is actually going to go to our beneficiary, which is the Madison Area YMCA Project Community Pride. There was an article yesterday that spoke a little bit about why that's a very special piece of my heart. I'll speak that day as well. I was a Project Community Pride participant when I was in my troubled teen years, and it really directed me a very different direction. So I felt that when the vote was unanimous to have them as the beneficiary, that was very important to all of us, but especially me. So the next slide will show you kind of the signage you're going to start seeing. We're going bright green for mental health awareness. Monday was Mental Health World Awareness Day, and so we were going to kind of go close to that timing, but Mayor Bob was away. We couldn't have the wellness walk without the mayor, and also we didn't want to run into Bottle Hill Day, so we tried to spread ourselves a little further than what ended up happening, as we can all tell. But so that's what you'll see. You'll notice when you go downtown that there's a version of this in many businesses who are supporting this event and want to show the town that mental health matters to them. Next slide. So what you can expect that day at 11:30, the mayor's going to welcome you. There'll be a few speakers from the governor's office on mental health stigma, from the Morris Essex Mental Health Association, and myself telling my own story of my mental health journey, trying to break that silence for people by exemplifying that, by sharing my own story. From 12 to 1:30, people will then walk. If you open your map, you can see that walk better. This will be posted on RoseNet if it isn't already. I'm not sure if Michael put it up there for us yet, but this will be accessible both in paper format and digital format to try to not print so many copies, but also for people to review. So you'll take a loop. I want you to imagine going under the trestle, down Waverly, down Main Street, taking a turn at McCool's, coming back through the Education Annex and back up Waverly. And there will be stops all along 19, actually as of today there's about 21 who may be added. I think by the time we hit the event it'll be about 25. And as you can see from the map, there's all kinds of different things to do. So local businesses we'll have therapy dogs, we'll have aromatherapy with my friend Christine Pink Pear, we'll have a mindful bite of ice cream, we'll have meditation, stretching exercises, yoga exercises, you name it, we're pretty much trying to cover it. There's going to be some ear acupuncture by Dr. McCann. He says it's safe, so he says it really helps with anxiety. There'll be demonstrations, and the YMCA will be hosting a huge resource tent with all of the mental health resources available to people. So those calls I get, I'm like, oh, there's somewhere to direct them now. Come on the 23rd, come look at resources. So people will get to both experience as well as receive resources that they can take with them if they're struggling in their mental health journey. And then at 1:30, we're going to come right back here out front. There will be some food trucks and a concert by The Thorns. Who else? One of my favorite bands in town. And we're hoping that the Interfaith Council will be coming together to close us that day to show their support for our event. We're hoping that 2:45 they can squeeze it into their schedule, which many faith leaders are very busy on Sunday. So we're doing our best to bring as many together as we can. So next slide. So what are our goals and rationale? So the first thing obviously is to reduce stigma. We want familiar faces to be walking up and down Main Street, There's going to be a sticker that I'll talk about in a minute that's pledging to continue the conversation. It's people you know who are going to be walking around participating in these activities, supporting these activities. We want it to be familiar faces. We find that a lot of people feel that mental health, it is a very private thing. But in some ways, we can support each other very publicly. And that's how we reduce stigma, right? We don't necessarily need to get into people's details. I don't want people to think that that's the effort here, or the intention here. The intention is to show people that, yes, you can have your privacy to what's going on, but you can also express that something is going on. That national movement right now, it's okay not to be okay, right? It's okay to struggle. It's okay to feel that things are hard right now. And that's the support we want to show and reduce the stigma of people that maybe feel hesitancy to get help. We also want to reduce what I call the hesitancy for wellness activities. I mentioned ear acupuncture. I don't know if anybody twitched, right? What is that even going to look like? You don't have to do it. You can just watch, right? I'll try it. How does meditation help? Let's try it for 10 minutes with Donna, who's going to come and do some, or Laura, who's going to come and do some meditation. What is this therapy dog thing? We hear about it. Let's go see. Let's go actually experience it for just a few minutes in a very safe and comfortable way. And then we hope that people, because they've tried it, or they've, now understand what it looks like or what it feels like, right? Sometimes we have to see something or touch something to know that it counts, right? That it matters, that it's going to be helpful. So we're going to get them to try it, hopefully, or watch other people try it, right? And finally, we want to build support and commitment to mental health. We hope this is only the beginning. The mayor's fitness crawl, I think it was. I got several calls today. How come we weren't invited? We did the fitness crawl for so many years. I said, it's not a fitness crawl. This is a mental health wellness crawl with some fitness sponsors. You're more than welcome to join. And I encourage them. Maybe we can have 3 or 4 mayor's events, mayor's wellness campaign events. One, bringing back this beloved fitness crawl that everyone loved, that I wasn't here for. I only moved back 4 years ago. There's an idea that we can keep this going through future events. I've encouraged those few gyms who did call me to spearhead, other events too. Support Network is obviously always happy to help out in the mental health realm, or the social emotional realm. We want to look at future events and partnerships where this is a continued conversation. Mental health is not just in May for Mental Health Awareness Month and October for World Mental Health Day, right? We want this to be a constant. It's something people struggle with all 12 months of the year, and so events that carry that through. We also hope that the proceeds supporting Project Community Pride means that there are more kids in Madison receiving free mental health services. So, the common question, what can we do, right? So our next slide. Please come, try it out, watch Deb get some ear acupuncture, or invite your friends, invite your colleagues, right? Just check it out. Again, no one's required to do anything, not even you, Deb. And share it on social media, endorse the event, tell people you're going to try things too. Finally, we're going to ask you that day to take the pledge, right? There's this little sticker, and it just says, I pledge to continue the conversation, okay? And so we didn't do t-shirts, they're too expensive. And also, how many t-shirts can we have? We have a lot of t-shirts, right? So we thought a sticker would be a nice way for people to show, that they are going to pledge to continue the conversation, pledge to continue to support mental health in your neighbor, your friend, right? It's a big statement for people who are struggling with their mental health when they see you just saying, like, I support this. I support that mental health is a conversation we should have, and that I'm here to talk. So I open, next slide. I open up to any questions, any comments?
Thanks, Jen. That was very helpful. So just a couple of things. I don't do needles, hence why I will not do ear acupuncture. I only do needles when I have to for medical reasons. But couple things, suggestion literally just popped in my head after all these meetings. We need to get a JPEG of what the sticker is so that we can also environmentally friendly pass that around and put it, I'd love to have it as my cover page, for instance, on Facebook. And that's easy enough to do, right, Michael? Just add it to your list. Just so that people in the audience that did not see this to pick it up. A couple of other things. There's lots of stuff for kids. Bubble dance party with tons of toys outside the store. Pinwheel breathing with Madison Pharmacy. I love the mindful bite of ice cream because who doesn't love ice cream? And then various things. But I wanted to also mention Hope One will be there from the county with Narcan demonstration. And I know they usually also have other things that they bring with them to this sort of event. And I'm a big fan of the pet therapy, so I'll definitely be hanging out there. And just to clarify for the public, they don't have to go in order 1 to 19. They can do this walk in any order you want. We don't want hopefully the big crowd all going from one to the other. And just I'm not going to go into it here, but for those of you that are friends with me on Facebook, you have seen I've started in my own journey of mental health to put on Facebook some of the details. I don't put them all out there. Because I do think it's important. I teach high school, as most of you know, and watching these kids even today, the impact of COVID, and not just of COVID, but COVID highlighted it, of these kids that don't know what to do when they are in a crisis. They don't know who to reach out to. They reach out in the wrong ways. And it's events like this that will help give those skills, and they can see, you know what, sometimes, all you need to do is blow a bubble. And again, I'm in therapy, I see a psychiatrist, I'm an advocate for all of that stuff, but I'm learning how to do some of this self-care, self-help stuff myself. I have been very resistant to it, and so I think it's great that we're bringing it in a community-wide event for all ages. So thank you for your leadership. It's been great working with you, and I look forward to continuing the journey with you and Dave, Doug, sorry, Doug. I knew I was going to get it wrong. From the Rotary and the others that have been involved.
Thank you for joining the party late, but with lots of force and power and help, so we're grateful to you.
Anybody else from council?
Thanks for the presentation. It's exciting to look forward to this big event. I just want to comment on the sort of bigger picture here, as Deb was doing. I think the results of the Rotary-sponsored community survey that you shared with us show that we are still struggling to deal with the aftermath, if you can call it that, of the pandemic, the mass death and loss of the pandemic, the uprisings for racial justice in 2020, the attempted coup last year. All of these events taken together are what some refer to as the long 2020, and I know all of us know that feeling of this sort of never-ending sense of erosion of our expectations and our trust and our understanding of the world around us. It's undermined our well-being, it's sown mistrust in each other and our institutions. I don't think it's possible to understate how cataclysmic these events of the last few years have been. And I think that's worth highlighting because it has diminished our health, our wellness, our safety, and people feel disconnected and our social trust is degraded. And I know there's a strong desire to put all that behind us and turn to the future and take a step into the next chapter, but I think the reckoning of what we have all lived through together, we are just at the beginning of that. And so I just want to recognize that I see that the support network knows that we are strong together. I can see through that, the events that you've hosted, that you believe in community and that's the way that we build trust and empathy and strength and take responsibility for each other and our town and those around us. So between this event and the others that you've hosted for all different kinds of interests, I've been following you and, understanding that you seek to reach people where they're at with the kinds of activities all around town for, different types of people at different times in their life. I think I can see how the support network is really urging us to open up to each other, to create community and double down on building social trust. And I don't think, we need to acknowledge that that's the glue that holds us all together as a peaceful, high-functioning society. And this is kind of a philosophical way to talk about a mental health walk, a walk for wellness, but it's a perfect example of taking that urgent need that we have and taking action. So thank you for bringing us together to do this and for recognizing the need that we have to rebuild that social trust and meet each other and stay connected to each other.
If I can just comment, thank you for all of that, because that's mostly why we founded the support network, along with the fact as a therapist, I know what has happened to our brain and our body from that stress reaction that we had for so many years. And not only are we bringing people together, but part of the therapeutic process is we're rewiring their brain for safety. So not to get too theoretical and go too far into my spin, but this is what I do for a living, right? And I decided that part of why we needed to do this way is that I can't completely rewire a child's brain in my office with the sand tray and all the toys and all the fun in the world. I can't rewire it. I need to rewire it in their community. I need to give them and their parents an experience of going to a place where they either learn a self-defense class, have a glass of wine and sing karaoke, all the other things that we do together.
Pickleball, I saw this pickleball.
Yeah, learn pickleball in a difficult environment, a learning environment, not feeling intimidated to walk into something like that. But what that does is that rewires our alarm system that's been going off for 2.5 years, that we are safe, that we are okay, and it's going to be through practice, right? So the support network is dedicated to doing this for the rest of my life, that we're going to continue to bring people together and give them a safe environment to do that rewiring that it takes, that repetition of being in a safe, comfortable, inclusive environment that calms down all of that anxiety response, So yes, we had problems before COVID, but part of why it became so difficult during COVID is that everyone's alarm system went off for good reason, and now we can't teach it to calm down, and we have to do that in community. Sorry, I always have to throw my theoretical brain chemistry in there.
No, thank you for that context. That's really helpful.
But that's exactly why we do it, along with hoping that these relationships are what keep us from having continued traumatic experiences. And I think Madison does a great job with that, with our police with us and near us, and we can communicate with them and talk with them. The fire department is always out there and with us. So we know that our leaders support us, but we want to make sure that people know that their neighbors support them, that their friends support them, and that they can rewire in a safe, comfortable, try something new environment. So, thank you.
Okay, first of all, I'll tell you, I think this is long overdue. Being an EMS first responder for 25 years, unfortunately, I've come in contact with people who deeded this a long time ago. And in the EMS world, we do have our own little group that if we see something really bad that affects us, we can call them and talk about it. And I know a lot of issues for people they consider very private. And sometimes they consider it so private that they don't seek help in time. So you said something here today that really I wrote down. It's okay not to be okay. Everybody has their own secret battles that they have to fight. So thank you for this, and I hope that this is an ongoing and very successful program.
Thank you.
Well, okay, anybody else? Okay.
You're off the hook.
Hearing. Thank you.
Ordinances for hearing. The ordinance scheduled for hearing was introduced by title and passed on the first reading of the regular meeting of the council held on September the 26th, 2022. It was posted and filed according to law, and copies were made available to the general public requesting same.
Ordinance 45-2022.
Ordinance of the Borough of Madison appropriating $300,000 from the Reserve for Electric Utility Substation Fund for repairs and related materials.
I open the hearing. Any comments?
Need a second.
Okay, close that portion.
Okay.
Second the ordinance?
Any further council discussion? Okay. Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Hoover?
Yes.
Ms. Cohen?
Yes.
Ms. Ehrlich? Yes. Mr. Landrigan?
Yes.
Mr. Range?
Yes.
Okay. move that ordinance 43-22.
It's 45, my mistake.
45-2022 be adopted and finally passed, and ask the clerk to publish the notice thereof in the newspaper and file the ordinance in accordance with the law. Okay, now we're at the point of the second invitation for public comment. You can ask or discuss anything. Again, your discussion period is 3 minutes. I'll let you know that's up, and like the mayor always says, I'll give you an extra minute if needed. Okay, anybody wishing to come up?
Hi, my name is Kate Ransom Silliman, and I'm at 6 Highland Avenue. I'm here on behalf of the Friends of the Drew Forest, and Chris Hepburn wanted me to tell you that she wanted to be here too, but she has contracted COVID, unfortunately. I wanted to start out by congratulating Rachel on her 2022 Municipal Leadership Award from the Association of New Jersey Environmental Commissions. ANJEC's mission is to achieve responsible and sustainable use of New Jersey's natural resources and protection of environmental health. Rachel was recognized for her leadership in creating our town's Climate Change Committee, for aligning our town with the New Jersey Energy Master Plan, and for among other things, winning us a $10,000 grant to develop a community energy plan. So congratulations to Rachel on your wonderful leadership, and I hope that it will inspire other towns to follow our lead and work as she has done in truly inspiring and benefiting Madison, Morris County, and the state. I'm also delighted to report that the Friends of the Drew Forest has also won a 2022 ANJEC Award for achievement by a nonprofit. They wish to recognize us for the amazing support and advocacy generated in such a short time to preserve the forest and promote a win-win conservation sale. They noted how the Friends leapt into action at the threat of the forest, raising awareness through community action, meetings, letters, speaking at this council meeting, and grassroots work. I hope everyone here has seen the signs. In just the last few months, we've obtained 501c3 nonprofit status, organized over 13,000 signatures, and held a community meeting that attracted over 75 town participants, including the people here. When we learned that Drew had sued the town in order to allow development of these precious lands, we were able to file an amicus brief through securing the pro bono assistance of one of the nation's top environmental lawyers and hiring an environmental engineering firm to contribute expert impact studies to the brief in order to show scientifically the value of the 53 acres. So we would like to, we are proud to accept this recognition, and it is really the many people who care deeply about this priceless resource that is Drew Forest that has propelled our group and funded the hiring of the many experts that are helping us fight for a just solution for Drew, the town, and our aquifer and wildlife. The awards will be presented on Friday, and congratulations to Rachel Ehrlich and to Friends of the Drew Forest. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Good evening. My name is Lenora Clark. I'm a resident of Madison. I live on 7 Oak Circle, and I wanted to discuss
well as the Borough Council where you're coming from on that. So thank you.
Hi, Alex Jennings, 6 Edgewood Road. I'm going to be super quick. But I just wanted to say, as the mom of a child, now 15, who could have really benefited from an inclusive playground, I just wanted to thank Councilmember Cohen for her work on the playground. It's really, really important, and it may seem like it doesn't affect that many kids, but when you include everyone, then everyone benefits. So thank you so much for that.
Hello again, everybody. Tom Harlan Putis, 27 Palmer Road. I want to thank Councilwoman Cohen also for that thorough presentation. It's a shame 17 years ago there wasn't as much attention given to putting, accessible playgrounds and facilities for anybody handicapped or challenged. So it's great that we're doing it now. I did have the same reaction as Councilman Cohen about the cost, but I guess if you're already out there figuring out what it should be, that's where we're going to end up. So one comment I have, and maybe this has already been vetted, what can we do in-house? We have a very capable DPW department. Maybe the site work can be done and whatever else to save a little money, and then maybe that's already in your $550,000. But if it's not, let's at least give that an opportunity to save us some money. And for the playground, you couldn't tell really from your pictures here what it is, but is there going to be a sandbox? Because every kid loves a sandbox. Even somebody who you just give them a bucket of sand would love a sandbox. So it's just a comment that maybe we should think about it in the sandbox. Jim and I spent a lot of time around the sandbox with our kids. Jim? Yeah, it's like yesterday. And then is it possible, since we're talking about other potential playgrounds, can we repurpose some of the equipment that's there over to the MRC, as an example? Because when we were originally designing the MRC, we were going to put a children's playground. Very often, when you go to sporting events in other municipalities, they have fields and they have some activity for the parents to do with the children who aren't participating in the sport. So we have the equipment that's at the playground now looks pretty nice to me. I'm there a lot on the weekends just walking my dogs around, so I don't know if it can be moved or not. So it's just a suggestion. On another subject, again, I'm going to just pose a question to Mr. Burnett. And also, are you going to do any naming rights or go out and look for any any donations from the community? Because that's what we did 17 years ago when we put the playground there. The Rotary's name is on the plaque. I think there might be a big Greek name on that plaque too. So maybe you could get some more donations from the community, probably. A question I have for Kathy, I can't ask you this now, but is there a GoFundMe for the Drew Forest campaign? If we have 13,000 signatures and each person put up $10, that's $130,000 towards whatever the goal is to actually have a subsidy to give Drew to maybe pull back and still have some money to help the, whatever they're going to accomplish when they're done. Mr. Burnett, question.
Tom, you're at 3 minutes.
That's 3?
Yes.
So I get another 3 grace.
You used up your grace before, but go ahead.
All right. Well, real quick. So now that the interest rates for money in the bank are so high, I'm sure Jim's already thought about this because he's very astute when it comes to how the borough can manage their money. But we probably should be making some good interest on the money that we have in the bank, like we did a few years back when we struck like one of the best interest deals with Provident for a while when rates were very low. So that could definitely help us offset some of these raises in managing the borough's budgets. So that's it for now. Thanks again. It was a nice meeting, a lot of good information.
Thank you, Tom.
Bob, I'm just going to address a couple of things that he said, if that's okay.
Okay, go ahead.
Real quickly, as far as repurposing the equipment, I'm going to be honest, not something we thought of, but definitely something I will add to our list to look into. maybe that helps us solve the Del Barton or the Lucy D or the MRC, because I agree, there are plenty of places that have the playgrounds at the fields. The cost, yes, we are looking at in-house for some of what we can. Very little of it can be done in-house because of the nature of the beast. And I am now going to be the bearer of bad news, because as much as our kids love the playground, the sandbox, so do the cats. And the maintenance to keep the cats out of the really big litter box at Dodge Field is reason number one. And reason number two, to be honest, is sand on the surfacing that we're going to be using will decrease the life of the surfacing. So I apologize, but no, there will be no sandbox. Can I just real quick address the interest rate thing with someone else? All right. I was going to say, if you go back, and I don't unfortunately have the report in front of me, but at the last meeting, we did talk about the interest rates and how Jim is working to increase that money. So take a look at that, and then you can reach out to myself or Jim, and we'll get you more info. Thanks, Bob.
Thank you, Deb. Okay, go ahead.
Patrick Flaherty, 28 Spring Garden Drive. I just have a few comments about the playground. I think it's a great option. Currently, anybody who has a child with a disability has to travel 30 minutes to Morris, to Central Park in Morris, which is kind of becoming a little outdated. So my family spends a lot of time at Rabbi Shai Schachner Park in Wayne, which is excellent.
I couldn't remember the name.
I would definitely move the jet ride to the needs list off the wants list. It makes the ride worth it. One of the problems with accessible spaces is actually accessing the space. The reason the Wayne Park is so good is because there's a handicap parking right there, and any child can open the gate to get in. Unfortunately, that's not the case.
Can't hear you. I move for approval without. Yes. Aye.